Okay, Mo is saying, what do you say to people who say, okay, again, I'm trying to decipher this because sometimes it's hard to understand what Mo is saying, but I'm going to try, okay? Mo is saying, I'm just going to read it as is, okay, without fixing it. What do you say to people who say that fallacies and rationality are not important because, for example, the U2 fallacy is really just give us a more wholesome and tangents that are important to having a more complete view of various social and political matters. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what this means, but I think you're saying that logical fallacies are not helping us, and there are better ways of understanding, of having better views of social and political matters than focusing on rationality and logical fallacies, right? But I'm assuming that this is happening because somebody called out your fallacy and you were annoyed. I'm just, no, I'm kidding. Okay. Okay. So maybe, so what you have to understand is that these logical fallacies are not just things that you call and then things are determined right and wrong just because you call that a fallacy. Okay, that's not how you're supposed to work. If people are using it that way, then you might be right in seeing how counterproductive they are. Okay, instead, like, I think you would find more utility, you will understand the utility in them if instead of just remembering the fallacies and calling them out, you understood the reasoning behind why these fallacies are logical fallacies and why they make an argument wrong. Okay, because it's good for us to, like, to understand not just social and political matters. To understand anything, you would want to make strong arguments for it. And our human brains are weak and they make mistakes. But the good thing is that the mistakes that they make are often the same, right? Because our brains are wired similarly in different, between different individuals, the mistakes that we often make are repetitive, right? So it's not like the mistakes that we make in our thinking, because our brains were not designed for the modern world. Like, through evolution, we were meant to be hunters and gatherers and stuff like that. We were not meant to make arguments to figure out how to live together and how to have a political society and stuff like that. We were not meant to do these things, right? So so it's understandable why our brains constantly make mistakes when we try to come up with conclusions, right? But the good thing is that these mistakes are so often the same mistakes that we can categorize them, and then we could be more aware of the common mistakes. So this is what the logical fallacies do. The logical fallacies is just notices the common mistakes people make when they are trying to arrive at a conclusion. And then it describes why it's a mistake and why it often leads us to the wrong conclusion. If you are aware of it, then it will help you figure out how to make better arguments, not just to other people, but to yourself. That's why they're useful. But I don't know if that's answering your question, because I'm not sure if I understood your question, but I think I answered your question. If you'd like to send me your questions for me to answer during our Q&As, become a patron. If you would like to have a discussion with me live on air at the end of the Q&As, become a YouTube member. Link to both is in the description. Thank you for your support.